Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. All right, let's get into the topic of the day in college basketball. Stunning news out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where Roy Williams announces his retirement. That is right. One of the great jobs in college basketball is open as Roy Williams at 70 years old decides to step away. This is not an April Fool's joke. This is real. Roy Williams retires at the University of North Carolina. And here's what I want to kind of do. I want to kind of do two different things here because there is a conversation to be had about Roy, about why he decided to leave, that I do think is really interesting. And I will talk about that on Friday's Aaron Torres podcast. If you're not subscribed, go find it on iTunes. We will talk a ton of Roy Williams, a ton of Chris Beard, all that stuff. But what I want to do right now is instead focus on who is next at North Carolina, because that's the question everybody in college basketball is asking. North Carolina truly is one of the elite jobs in this sport. To me, it's probably Kentucky and North Carolina 1 and 1A in terms of just everything that a college basketball coach could possibly want in a job. Big state school, pays well, history, tradition, passionate fan base, recent success. I'm not even poking at Indiana, but that was one thing that I think a lot of a lot of people in college basketball are like, it's been a long time since Indiana's been relevant. I don't know if I want to take on that challenge of being the guy that takes them out of the basement after 30 years. Well, North Carolina, like Kentucky, has been completely relevant. It is now open, and I'll just tell you this. It is going to be a fascinating job search. And what I want to do here now is kind of talk about, the job itself, and what I will tell you just straight up, point blank, right off the top is this. I believe there are two different things that I need to discuss right now. I need to discuss what I think North Carolina will do and what I think North Carolina should do. And what I'll be perfectly honest about is I think what North Carolina will do is a lot more boring than what North Carolina should do, which in my opinion is go out and go after every single big fish in the sea. I'll tell you a quick side story. I remember talking to John Calipari for my book about Kentucky basketball, and I asked him point blank, I said, you had things rolling at Memphis. Why did you decide to leave Memphis for Kentucky? And he said, because it's Kentucky. I could not say no to Kentucky, and I believe that if North Carolina goes out and pursues the biggest names, the best names in college basketball, they can actually get one to leave. I don't know that Indiana could have done that. I don't know that there's a lot of other programs that could, but I do believe that North Carolina should go after the biggest names in college basketball. And so let's get into it. And then what I'll do at the end is I'll get into what I actually think they will do, which is kind of hire somebody from within the family. North Carolina is kind of like Michigan football, one of these schools where the family is important. But what I think they should do is do what Kentucky did when their job opened up a decade ago. There was one man, and they refused to hear no from him, and that was John Calipari, and that was who they got. So what I would do is I would go after the biggest names in college basketball and make them say no. The first call I would make, you know who it would be to? Be for a guy that's going for history this weekend, Mark Few, Gonzaga. And I know it sounds crazy. He'd never leave Gonzaga. He's been offered a million jobs. There's a difference between being offered the Oregon job or the Washington job or even the UCLA, USC, whatever jobs. There is a big difference between that and being offered the North Carolina job. And when I look at why Mark Few would be the perfect fit, it is not only because his team is going for history this weekend. They're potentially going to win a national championship as an undefeated national champion, but it's because of who he is, how he coaches, and why he has had success at Gonzaga. And no, it's not because, they play in a terrible conference. No, they're destroying everybody, at least heading into the Final Four. We'll see if they win the final two games. What I love about Mark Few is a few things. One, he plays a very fun, open style of play that obviously, you score a lot of points, you play really good defense. I think that's going to sell with the fan base immediately. Two, more specifically, it is how he has built his program. What I love about Mark Few is he is now at the point at Gonzaga where he has found that perfect balance of all the different ways to bring in players into your program and have success. He is now recruiting the elite high school players, but he's recruiting the right ones, right? And I think that's one thing when a guy gets a job like North Carolina, like Kentucky, like Duke, like wherever, there's going to be pressure to recruit the elite of the elite of the elite, and some guys have never done that before. Mark Few has done it. He knows the guys to target. He knows the guys to go after. He knows the guys that are going to fit in his system the way that Jalen Suggs has this year, the way that Jalen Suggs has bought in to a role at North Carolina. Now it's a starring role, but it is still a role. Everything does not revolve around Jalen Suggs. And I think that, to me, is the biggest reason why I would go after Mark Few. We are entering this transfer portal era where, yes, you need high school players, but you need to be able to hit that transfer portal. And it seemed as though Roy Williams was not comfortable doing that. Well, guess who has had more success maybe than anybody in the transfer portal in recent years, maybe outside of Eric Musselman or Chris Beard or whatever? It's Mark Few. Andrew Nembhard, very important player on this year's team. Nigel Williams-Goss, very important player on the 2017 Final Four team. And so it's about identifying, again, not just going all in on transfers, but identifying the right guys. Mark Few has done that at the high school level, the transfer level, obviously with the international players. He's had a ton of success. And then when I look at this year's team, it's another reason why I would go get Mark Few. He is a great talent developer. That's the thing that stands out to me about this Gonzaga team. Think about their starting lineup. Corey Kispert is a first-team All-American. Corey Kispert, of course, was a fringe top 100 recruit coming out of high school. Probably outperformed it right away. And, I love the recruiting guys, but they might have missed on that one. Started as a freshman at Gonzaga, became a role player, then became a star. And when I look at Gonzaga and I look at the way that Mark Few plays, the way he develops players, and the way he recruits, to me, it's a no-brainer. Now, would he leave Gonzaga? I do not know. But this is what I also know. With due respect to everything that Gonzaga has built, the bottom line is, at a certain point, they are a small Catholic school in Spokane, Washington. No disrespect, love the Catholic schools, whatever. But what I am saying is, there is a dollar amount that North Carolina can throw at Mark Few that Gonzaga just can't match. And I don't know what that number is. I don't know how many years. I don't know how many dollars. And I don't know if he'd even take it. But again, it goes back to the fact that this is North freaking Carolina. And the idea that you're going to promote internally or you're going to go somebody in the family. No, go get the biggest name possible. If you're the AD, the only thing that matters is getting the right head coach. Mark Few would be number one. It would be number two. Another guy who will frankly probably say no, but you have to call him anyway. And it's Jay Wright. It sounds preposterous. He's 59 years old. He's been at Villanova for 20 plus years. But if you're, again, it's North Carolina. This isn't, with due respect to, 350 other jobs in college basketball. It's different when North Carolina calls. It's different when Kentucky calls. It's different when Kansas calls. And it'll be different when Duke calls when Coach K retires. So I'd call Jay Wright. He'll probably say no, but you got to call him. And what I love about Jay Wright is, again, exactly what I just said with Mark Few. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's comfortable in how he builds a program. He's comfortable how he recruits. He's not going to get to North Carolina and feel like I got to go after all the 5 stars and then, you get burned by a couple guys leaving early, a couple guys going to the G League. No, Jay Wright knows the players that he wants in the program. He develops them. He is a coach that, again, identifies the right pieces. Sometimes they redshirt. Sometimes they take an extra year. And so to me, again, call him. Villanova's a Catholic school. I know he gets paid really well. I know he's turned down opportunities to at least be pursued by the NBA, to at least meet with NBA teams. But North Carolina is different. I'd give Jay Wright a call, make him say no, not just because of the national championships, but because of the fact that, again, he is a program builder. He knows how to identify the players that are going to work for him. He knows how to develop them. And at North Carolina, it's about competing for national championships. I just don't think it's the right idea to go get somebody that has not coached at the highest level. Third name, Bama fans, hate to say it, Nate Oats. And this is one where you really have to rally the boosters. You got to get every person in North Carolina with any tobacco money or whatever, however they've made their money, and say, look, I need you guys to take out your checkbooks, and I need you to be ready to add some zeros that you weren't ready to do 2, 3, 4 weeks ago when we thought Roy Williams was staying. You got to be ready to spend, okay? We got to spend some money because here's the deal with Nate Oats, and I talked about it with Indiana. Nate Oats has a $12 million buyout in Alabama. So you got to pay Nate Oats, you got to pay Alabama $12 million just to talk to Nate Oats. And then from there, you're obviously going to have to pay him a massive salary to get him to leave Alabama. But listen, this guy has transitioned so seamlessly to the highest levels of college basketball. And again, Part of the reason why Roy Williams, we believe announced his retirement and decided to leave is because of the simple fact that it just feels like he didn't want to deal with what's next in college basketball, which is transfers, which is players leaving for the NBA, at a time when they're not ready, when they're only going to be developmental players in the G League. The G League itself taking elite high school players. And I don't blame Roy Williams. He's been doing things a certain way for 50 years. He goes back to Michael Jordan staying as a junior when, let's be honest, if Michael Jordan had ever made it to college this year, he would have left the second he hit that shot against Georgetown as a freshman. So I understand why Roy Williams wanted to leave. But Nate Oats has been so good in that transition to, the high major level where he's recruiting the right transfers. Again, Jordan Bruner comes to mind, a guy from that perspective. He's proven already to be able to recruit elite high school players. A top 10 player, J.D. Davison from Alabama, is going to Alabama next year. Javon Quinterly's a transfer. He's developed players within the program. And oh, by the way, again, he plays a very fun, very modern style of college basketball. And the thing about Nate Oats is that's good too. He's only 46 years old. So, Roy Williams just retired at 70. You could have Nate Oats for another, 25, 26 years just to get to where Roy Williams is now. Beyond that, the final one, listen, I would give Brad Stevens a call. I don't think Brad Stevens is in a rush to come to college basketball, but let's call a spade a spade. When the Indiana job was open, it took him 2 press conferences to fully deny that he was interested in the Indiana job. The first one, he kind of waffled. Well, it's sort of, I'm just happy here. It's like, whatever. Give him a call. Make him say no. The Celtics aren't playing very well right now. I believe he will stay in the NBA. Even if the Celtics move on from him in the next year or two, he is going to have other options in the NBA, but you give him a call. And from there, you work backwards. You see who says yes. But I don't think, I just can't emphasize this enough. This is North Carolina freaking basketball, okay? It's no different than Alabama football. There's a difference between the Alabama coaching job and, whoever. And that's how North Carolina is. That's how big North Carolina is. And I don't think what you should do is go internal, go in the family, do all that. But unfortunately, to wrap this video, that is what I think they'll do. And again, there's a difference between what I would do and what I think Carolina will do. And what I think Carolina will do is keep it in the family. And like I said off the top, there are some schools that just really believe in kind of that family atmosphere, kind of deal. At Michigan, it really matters. They want a Michigan man running the football team if possible. Then there are other places like, Ohio State's like, just go get me the best coach. I don't care who he is. I don't care where he's from. We just want the best coach. And so with North Carolina, the family stuff really does matter. And so 2 things immediately jump out to me. The first is that I found it very interesting that Roy Williams decided just a week ago was convincing Caleb Love, his freshman point guard, not to transfer. There were reports that Caleb Love was going to transfer, and last Friday, Caleb Love announces that he's coming back. I would hope and I would think that Roy Williams did not convince Caleb Love that to come back to North Carolina if he knew 3 or 4 days later that he was planning on retiring. And so in my mind, I believe that Roy Williams has to have an idea of who is going to be the next head coach. If they keep it internal, I would think Hubert Davis would be next in line. Longtime NBA player, played at Carolina. He's been an assistant there for about 7, 8, 9 years. Really been entrenched, really well respected in that community. And if they do go internal, in-house, Hubert Davis makes a ton of sense. Again, I don't think Roy Williams would be convincing players to return to college, to return to North Carolina when they're thinking about transferring, if in fact he knew that he was retiring just a few days later. If they don't go with Hubert Davis, if they don't go internally, obviously Wes Miller is a name that has jumped out for people who do not know. Wes Miller, the head coach at UNC Greensboro, was a former player at North Carolina. I'll be honest, the guy's in his late 30s, early 40s. He hasn't coached at the high major level. That concerns me. But that is a name that you're going to hear. You'll probably even hear Jerry Stackhouse. Now, Jerry Stackhouse has not been very good at the high major level, but there's a difference between having the worst job in the SEC in Vanderbilt and the best job outside of Kentucky and Kansas in college basketball at North Carolina. So, Jerry Stackhouse, I wouldn't love it. He hasn't shown a real interest in recruiting. I know people that have been around that program, and I think he's a good X's and O's guy, but I do think he has kind of some of that NBA mentality of, does he want to get down and dirty? Does he want to work hard? Does he want to grind in recruiting? So to me, what I would do if I was North Carolina, I would go after the biggest names possible. I would back up the dump truck, as my buddy Clay Travis says, back up the dump truck and just keep adding zeros until somebody says yes. Realistically, though, I do think it's probably going to be a Wes Miller, Hubert Davis type hire.